How in the world can anybody take the Bible seriously? It's intolerant, and it's got stories about people doing horrible things, like Lot 1 minute offering his daughters to a grape gang, and then the next passage, he's sleeping with them and impregnating them. This is ridiculous. Who wants to read or even listen to any of this? Hold on. Not so fast. Let's talk about this. I'm Methodist Dave. I'm a professional theologian and Bible teacher. And today we're going to look at the visit to the city of Sodom and its destruction. Still have to deal with my eye, waiting for that to get surgery. So it'd be a little bit longer. I thought it would be yesterday, but it didn't work out. Well, in my last video, I talked about how Abraham was bargaining with God, because God had said that he's going to send somebody down there and destroy the city of Sodom and Gomorrah because of the wickedness of that city. And Abraham, knowing that his nephew Lot lives there, is arguing with God, trying to spare the city and maybe preserve his son's life, and works out a deal where if 10 good people can be found in the city of Sodom, then God would spare it. Well, the 3 visitors who come to visit with Abraham, 2 of them go off on their way and they go to the city of Sodom. And they enter the city, and we find that Lot is sitting in the city gates. Interestingly, the city gates was a place kind of tunnel-like, where this would be a hole in the wall. So in order to protect it and give it extra strength, there would be a large building over the gate. And this would be a tunnel-like thing here, where people could get in and out through the city. And it offered shade, and it was a cool place to sit during the heat of the day. So you would find in many cities, this is where the elders of the city would congregate and conduct business. This was sort of an informal courthouse. And Lot was sitting here. That means he's a leader of the city, sitting in the gate, and sees 2 strangers come in. He gets up and he says, "You guys should come and stay with me." And the angels are like, "We'll stay in the square. It's like the Motel 6 of the day." And Lot's like, "No, no, 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 no. You want to come with me. Come to my house. I'll feed you and take care of you." So Lot takes these 2 strangers and he brings them to his house and he feeds them. He gives them something to eat and gives them hospitality. Well, in the city of Sodom was a group of men who saw these strangers come in, and they come and they start pounding on Lot's door. And they say, "Bring them out. We wish to know them." They don't want to get to know them. They want to biblically know them. And Lot goes out and says, "My brothers, don't do this terrible thing. Look, I'll give you my 2 virgin daughters. Do what you want with them." And people are horrified at this. That's terrible. This is what God's people do? In the ancient East, and even today in some cultures, the custom of hospitality is the most important thing that there is. If someone comes to you for protection or shelter, you are obliged to care for them, even if they're your enemy. If you offer them hospitality, you are now required to protect them from anybody else, and that means even at the cost of your own life. It is considered so important in this culture that you protect a visitor under your care, and that you must do anything to protect them. That is the most important thing. So he offers them his daughters. It sounds terrible to us, but culturally they would have understood in the day that this was written, that, well, that's just what you need to do. If these guys are just eager to scratch an itch, then maybe this will satisfy them, but they're not. That's not what they want. And the judgment that falls upon Sodom, we often equate it with that action that the city's named after. Jeremiah and Isaiah also include other sins that Sodom committed, was the adultery and lack of care for the poor and abuse. It was just a bad place. And you can see that they're just attacking people left and right. So obviously, this must have been something that happened to other people. Otherwise, Lot would not have been so eager to bring these two travelers under his protection. So he knew that they would be assaulted in the city square. So he's trying to protect them. Well, they warn Lot that they're going to judge the city. And Lot's outside trying to satisfy them. And the angels come out and strike the crowd with blindness. Now, you would think that that would cause them to run away. Instead, they still are trying to find a way into the house. Blinded now, their evil, their viciousness is so intense that even in the face of their own injury, they still want to harm somebody else. This is a pathological wickedness that is intense. Well, warning his son-in-laws to be that destruction is coming, they ignore him. So Lot, his wife, and 2 daughters leave the city. And the angels say that we cannot bring destruction on the city until you get out. And in another passage, that if you don't get out, you're going to be with the city. So which is it going to be? I think that was the urgency was you need to get out because destruction is coming, but we need to get you out of here and we need to get you away from the city. And they're told to run to the mountains, and Lot's like, I can't go that far. Can I go to the city nearby, the city of Zoar? And they're like, okay, we'll spare the city of Zoar. But you need to get there because we can't do anything until you do. So you see that God is holding off judgment on the city of Sodom and Gomorrah and the area there until the righteous man is removed. So he goes to Zoar. But on the way, Lot's wife turns back. Now, they're warned not to turn back. And the question is it the fact that she just looked back and that's why she was turned into a pillar of salt or a tower of ash, whatever she's transformed into? Because she looked back? The language tells us she looks back longingly. Where did Lot's wife come from? We're not told. Did he marry her? Was she a resident of the city of Sodom? Did she not want to leave, actually? Did she being forced out and her heart was with the city? Her heart was with these people. Maybe she was as corrupt as the other people of the city. Don't know, not told. But she refused to leave. And because she wanted to remain behind, judgment fell upon her too. And we're told in the passage, the text tells us that fire and sulfur and burning rains down upon the city. There's like probably some volcanic activity. If you go to that region now, there are these little white balls that are balls of burnt sulfur. And archaeologists have found in the ruins a lot of evidence of the area being destroyed by fire. And it's not just the cities that are destroyed, it's all the vegetation in the area that are destroyed. Once upon a time, Lot went there because it was green pastures. And now, to this day, that area is wiped out. Whatever the circumstances were, that the area of the plains that were a very pretty place to live, everything has changed there. So there must have been some seismic shift. The river, maybe the river Jordan flowed through and drained someplace else so that it was able to keep the area lush and watered. Now the water just collects the river Jordan and it's released evaporation, and the salts and minerals have built up so much so that there is no life in the Dead Sea. You can't even drown in the Dead Sea. It's that saline that you can't sink. So Lot goes to the city of Zoar, and destruction comes upon the city, but the people of Zoar kind of look at Lot a little funny. So Lot continues on to the mountains, finds a cave, and he goes into the cave with his daughters. And here we get to another unpleasant part of the story. Figuring they're like, well, there's no man left on earth. A little exaggeration. Probably teenagers. Teenagers are always so dramatic over everything. And they concoct this plan to get their father drunk. And they take turns going into him, becoming pregnant by their father. One will give birth to the ancestor of the Moabites, and the other will give birth to the ancestor of the Ammonites, a similar race of people, but as a people group, they will be enemies of the descendants of Abraham in the future. And the Moabites and the Ammonites will be often at war with the Israelites. Family feuds. But you see, the interesting part of this is that, A, God is extending grace to his people and protecting them. And God is bringing judgment upon these wicked cities. God doesn't do that to everyone. But every once in a while, God makes an example out of someone. Remember, a few chapters before, the entire world has been decimated by a deluge because there was nothing but wickedness in people's heart all the time. And my father once floated a theory. He said, perhaps the people of this area had contracted a sexually transmitted disease or something like that. And had that been allowed to continue, it could have caused widespread death and destruction over millions of people. We saw in my generation the plague of AIDS sweep around the world. It started out innocuously in the early 70s and within 10 years had spread around the world, and it was taking the lives of people everywhere and is still a major problem around the world. Although we've been able to counteract the treatments, now that people have been able to present as almost zero, then there was no medication, and a plague would have wiped out the entire population. So perhaps this is like cauterizing a wound. We really don't know why. Only that, as Abraham said, the judge of all the world will do what's right. So we may not think it's right, but one day God will justify why he did what he did. But until that time, all of us should work to make the best world that we can, to treat one another kindly, and above all else, be good to one another. If you've got any questions about this or any other topic that I've discussed or you'd like me to discuss, drop me an email at methodistdave@gmail.com, and I'll try to make a video answering your question. Or if you want, I can respond to you via email if you would like that. We could talk a little bit more about this at length another time. Until then, take care of each other.